Are there any records that were game changers for me that I was listening to that it influenced me a lot? Um, some of them are really subconscious, but I think the first obvious one was Phil Collins' Face Value. That record, what Hugh Padgham had done was really a game changer for that time. And that inspired a lot of us. Now, understand, we were doing, at Media Sound, we were all strictly R&B. So along comes a rock record like that, but it was so exciting that I immediately wanted to start applying that to, the records I was doing, which of course, was really taking it to the edge, because it's like, this is R&B and you're trying to make the drum sound like, more intense. But so what? That's, when you think about what Clear Mountain did with Bowie, and with Let's Dance, and all that kind of stuff, it's just, you would just get influences, and then you'd apply it to something that one wouldn't think should work. And of course, with Bowie, it all came together. But it was really being very, very creative and very right on the edge, and see whether an idea works or not. And at best, it didn't. Or at best it did, and at worst it didn't. But you always had to be very daring because who knows, at the end of the day, well, suddenly you'd come onto something really, really cool. So listening to the Phil Collins was very inspiring, because it kind of opened up another world that I was very interested in, in trying out and seeing how it could apply to what I was doing. Another record that's about, I know there are many others, but once that occurs, I forget about it. I'm sure there's others. There's plenty of others. Can I really relate to or recall any other ones? I don't think so. That was the one that really, for me, changed everything. And I remember listening to, when I was going to be doing a Dream Theater record, any time that I would hear something that Andy Wallace would do, I'd just like, wow, how do you get that? How do you get those guitars like that, and the snare like that, and the kick like that, and the bass like that? How does every one of those get so loud? It just sounds so simple, and it just was, and then you try to do it, and you go, whoa, what happened to my snare? What happened to my drums now that the guitars are loud? And, So I remember, obviously the Nirvana record was huge in that respect. That was a real game changer for everybody, in the industry included. And that was, that's Andy, who was just kicking ass on that. That's, people, he'd been around for a while making great records like XTC and others, but when Nirvana came around, that's when he really came to light. And for the general public, the rest of us already knew he was a badass. The Michael Jackson records too, Bruce Swedien, he made it sound so simple. And then again, it's one of these, the ability to present this song in the simplest way, even though there might be 200-300 tracks going on. And Swedien could just make it sound, at any one point you never heard more than one or two elements. And that was the key to, I think, to pretty much all great mixes, is how can you introduce at any one point in time no more than two elements to the song, and those of course have to be the right elements, the ones that are the essence of what that section is. It can change from verse to B to chorus but there can be 100 things going on. If you hear all 100, you can hear nothing. So what can you do to make that sound so that it's all those other ones are being felt and there's support when there should be a support, and the elements that should be dominant to bring out that song are done in a simple way. And Bruce Swedien really can just do that like no one else. And then, to another degree, I remember hearing Phoenix records, and I don't usually sit and analyze how a record is done. It just doesn't interest me. I just enjoy it or I don't. But I found that the Phoenix record, I just loved how that was. I loved the songs, but I also loved how it was mixed. And that's what I was just really listening to and going, wow, oh yeah, he did this with the guitars and he did that, and wow, how'd they get that snare? And I was extremely curious by, first of all, the songs felt so good. And then I'd be listening to the songs, but then my mind would start to just, go on into a little tangent, and I'll go, whoa, what is that guitar sound? And then I could hear what he had been doing. And then Philippe was working at Electric Lady one day, and I found out he was here, and I said, man, and I started telling him, what I was hearing that he was doing in the mixes, and he was like, really? I was like, wow, that was so cool. And then eventually I got to know the guys, and then I started mixing a few little things here and there for them, some singles for them, and I just love their music. But that was a huge influence on. As soon as I heard that, I was like, oh, I've got to try that, And if there were records that were along that line, I couldn't wait to try these little ideas that I had heard and Philippe in the band doing. It was really, really cool. There's probably many more instances of that, but they become quickly assimilated into what I'm doing.